The stars had watched humanity for 300 years. In all that time, every alien species in the galaxy had formed the same opinion. Humans were soft. Humans were weak. Humans would smile when you hurt them and say thank you when you took from them. Ambassador Yon had served Earth for 20 years. He stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Concord, a place where 12 species gathered to make decisions that shaped the lives of trillions. His seat was in the back corner, far from the center where important species sat. He never complained about this. He simply smiled and did his work. His aide, Lieutenant Hana, walked beside him as they left another council meeting. The Velori ambassador had called humans prey walkers during the session. The Krix representative had laughed and said humans were only good for building things that real species were too busy to build. No one had defended Earth. No one ever did. "How do you stay so calm?" Hana asked as they walked through the metal corridors of the station. "They insult us every single day. They treat us like servants." June kept walking, his face peaceful. "Do you know why humans stopped fighting each other, Hana?" She shook her head. "Because we became too good at it. We created weapons that could turn planets to ash. We built machines that could kill millions in seconds. We looked at what we had become, and we were afraid of ourselves." He paused at a window that showed the endless black of space. "So we chose to be different. We chose kindness. We chose patience. But choosing something does not mean you forget how to be the other thing." Hana did not fully understand his words that day. She would understand them later. On Earth, Commander Tay ran training exercises that no alien eye ever saw. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea, soldiers practiced combat techniques that had been perfected over thousands of years of human warfare. They trained in secret bases on moons that official records said were empty. They flew ships that no alien had ever seen. Director Sujin worked in a building that did not exist on any map. Her team developed weapons that humanity had promised the galaxy it would never build. Plasma cannons that could cut through any shield. Missiles that could think and hunt their targets. Ships that could appear from nowhere and vanish just as quickly. "Why do we build these things if we never use them?" a young scientist once asked her. Sujin looked at him with eyes that had seen too much history. "Because the day may come when kindness is not enough. And on that day, we must be ready." The galaxy did not know about any of this. The galaxy saw only what humanity wanted them to see. They saw doctors who traveled to sick worlds and healed alien children for free. They saw engineers who fixed broken stations and asked for nothing in return. They saw a species that adopted orphaned alien babies when their own kind refused to take them. The Krix Dominion was the third most powerful military force in the galaxy. They were tall creatures with 4 arms and skin like gray stone. They believed that strength was the only thing that mattered. They saw humanity's kindness, and they saw opportunity. It started small. A Krix warship accidentally fired on a human cargo vessel. The ship was destroyed. 47 humans died. Earth filed a complaint with the Galactic Concord. The Krix said it was a mistake. The Concord accepted this explanation. 3 months later, another human ship was destroyed. This time it was a passenger liner. 2,000 colonists were traveling to start new lives on a distant world. The Krix ship that killed them did not even try to hide what it had done. The captain sent a message saying the humans had flown too close to Krix space. Ambassador June stood before the Concord and asked for justice. The Velori representative yawned. The other species looked away. The Krix ambassador smiled and said perhaps humans should learn to fly more carefully. "We will file a formal protest," June said, his voice calm. "File whatever you want," the Krix ambassador replied. "We all know humans never do anything but talk." High Commander Vel led the Krix military. He was old and had fought many wars. He had conquered species that were stronger than humans, species that had powerful weapons and fierce warriors. Humans had neither of these things, as far as he knew. "They are the perfect target," Vel told his officers one evening. "They have rich colony worlds. They have resources we need. And they will never fight back. It is in their nature to be weak." His officers laughed and agreed. They began making plans. On the Concord station, Hana found Ambassador June standing alone in his office. He was looking at a picture of his family. His sister lived on a colony world called New Busan. She had 3 children. Their smiling faces looked up from the photograph. "Sir, I have read the intelligence reports," Hana said quietly. "The Cricks are planning something big. Our analysts think they may attack one of our major colonies." June did not turn around. "I know." "Should we not warn the Concord? Ask for protection?" Now he turned, and Hana saw something in his eyes she had never seen before. It was not anger exactly. It was something older, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. "The Concord will do nothing. They never do." He placed the photograph face down on his desk. "Humanity has spent 300 years proving that we are kind, that we are patient, that we forgive. And now," June walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, his sister was putting her children to bed. Somewhere out there, the Cricks were preparing to take everything from him. "Now we wait," he said, "and we hope they do not make us show them what we really are." But hope, as humanity would soon learn, was not enough. The Cricks did not want peace. They did not want trade. They wanted to teach the galaxy that humans could be destroyed without consequence. They would succeed in teaching a lesson. But it would not be the lesson they planned. New Busan was humanity's proudest achievement. The planet had been a dead rock when humans first found it. No air, no water, no life. But humans saw what it could become, not what it was. For 80 years, they worked. They pumped gases into the atmosphere. They melted ice from asteroids to create oceans. They planted forests that spread across continents. Slowly, the dead world became a garden. 12 million humans called New Busan home. Families lived in cities built between mountains and seas. Children went to schools where they learned about Earth's history and dreamed about the future. Old people sat in parks and watched sunsets that painted the sky in colors no Earth eye had ever seen. Dr. Yuna worked at the main hospital in the capital city. She was a xenobiologist who had spent her life studying alien life forms. She had treated patients from 6 different species. She believed that all intelligent beings could learn to live together in peace. On the morning that would change everything, she was teaching young medical students about Valori biology. The class was interrupted by a sound that Yuna had never heard before. It was deep and loud, like thunder that would not stop. She walked to the window and looked up. The sky was full of ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They were not human ships. The Cricks had come. High Commander Vel watched from his flagship as his forces entered the atmosphere. He had brought his entire invasion fleet. Not because he needed it. A fraction of this force could have conquered the humans. But he wanted to send a message to the galaxy. Begin the cleansing. The Cricks did not want to capture New Busan. They did not want to rule its people. They wanted to erase them. Every man. Every woman. Every child. They wanted to prove that humans could be killed like animals, and no one would stop them. The first bombs fell on the capital city. Buildings that had taken decades to build collapsed in seconds. Fires spread through neighborhoods where families had lived for generations. People ran through the streets, screaming, looking for safety that did not exist. Dr. Stockso, Yuna gathered her students and patients and led them to the hospital basement. Outside, she could hear weapons firing and people crying. She could hear the heavy footsteps of Crick's soldiers marching through the streets. A young nurse named Sue grabbed her arm. "What do we do? Where do we go?" Yuna had no answer. There was nowhere to go. The Cricks had surrounded the city. Their ships controlled the sky. No help was coming. For 3 days, the survivors hid in the basement. They heard the Cricks searching building by building, room by room. They heard the screams of those who were found. On the 3rd night, Crick soldiers broke through the hospital doors. Dr. Yuna knew they had only minutes left. She found a communication device and sent a message to anyone who might be listening. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. "This is Dr. Yuna on New Busan. The Cricks are killing everyone. Not soldiers, everyone. Children. Sick people. Old people. They are laughing while they do it. If anyone receives this message, please remember us. Remember what happened here. Remember what they did. The basement door exploded inward. Crick's soldiers poured through, weapons raised. Yuna stood in front of her patients and students, knowing she could not save them, but refusing to step aside. The last thing she saw was a Crick's officer smiling at her. On the Concord station, Ambassador June was in a meeting when his personal communicator began to vibrate. He ignored it at first. Then it vibrated again. And again. He excused himself and stepped into the hallway. Lieutenant Hannah was waiting for him. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red. "Sir," she said, and her voice broke. "New Busan. The Cricks attacked New Busan." June felt his heart stop. "My sister. Her children. Have you heard anything?" Hannah could not speak. Hannah could not speak. She simply shook her head. June walked slowly back to his office. He sat down at his desk and turned on his screen. Reports were flooding in from across human space. The Cricks had not just attacked New Busan. They had destroyed it. 12 million humans were dead. The Cricks had broadcast the entire massacre across the galaxy. They wanted everyone to see. June watched a video of Crick's soldiers dragging human bodies through the streets. He watched them burn human flags while chanting songs about their great victory. He watched them pose for pictures with dead human children like they were hunting trophies. Something inside him changed. The patience that had defined his entire career cracked and fell away. The smile that had protected him for 20 years disappeared. What remained was something that humanity had tried very hard to bury. Hannah entered his office quietly. She had never seen him like this. His face was completely still. His eyes were empty. He looked like a man who had died but forgotten to stop breathing. "Sir," she said carefully. "What are your orders?" June stood slowly. When he spoke, his voice was calm, but it was not the calm of peace. It was the calm of a blade being drawn from its sheath. Contact every human citizen in non-allied space. Order them to return to human territory immediately. Contact Earth. Tell them to open the vault. Hannah felt cold. She had heard stories about the vault. Everyone in human military service had. It was supposed to be a myth, a legend, something to scare young soldiers. "Sir, the vault is real?" June looked at her, and she saw 300 years of accumulated rage burning behind his eyes. "Contact Earth," he repeated. "Tell them patience has ended." The message spread through secret channels across human space. In hidden bases, soldiers stopped their training and began preparations for real combat. In classified shipyards, engineers powered up engines that had never been fired. In quiet offices on Earth, military leaders opened files that had been sealed for generations. Humanity had been kind for 300 years. The kindness was over. The Galactic Concord Emergency Session was the largest gathering in the station's history. Representatives from all 12 species filled the Great Hall. Word had spread about New Busan. Word had spread about what the Cricks had done. Many species had come expecting to watch humans cry and beg for help. They were wrong. Ambassador June walked to the central podium. He moved differently now. The gentle diplomat who shuffled to his corner seat was gone. In his place was someone who walked like every step had purpose, like every movement was controlled, like he was holding back a storm. The hall fell silent. Even species who usually talk during human speeches said nothing. 300 years, June began. His voice filled the chamber without shouting. For 300 years, humanity has been part of this concord. We accepted the worst trade routes. We took the most dangerous colony worlds. We sat in the back of this chamber and smiled while you laughed at us. He paused and looked at each species section in turn. We built hospitals on your plague worlds. We sent engineers to fix your stations. We adopted your abandoned children. We bled so that you could prosper. We forgave so that you could grow. We believed that if we showed you kindness, you would learn to be kind in return. He placed a small device on the podium. A holographic image appeared above the hall. It showed New Busan before the attack. Beautiful cities, green forests, blue oceans, happy people. Then, the image changed. It showed the same places after the Krix were done. Burning ruins, bodies in the streets, smoke rising into a darkened sky. 12 million, June said quietly. That number means nothing to most of you, so let me make it personal. He pressed another button. Faces appeared in the hologram. Men, women, and so on. Children. Old people. This was my sister. Her name was Jia. She was a teacher. These were her children. Minsu was 7. He wanted to be a pilot. Unji was 5. She loved to draw. These were my parents. They retired to New Busan to be close to their grandchildren. His voice did not break. His eyes did not water. He had already cried alone. Now was not the time for tears. The Krix did not just kill them. They hunted them. They filmed themselves doing it. They sent those recordings across the galaxy because they wanted you all to see. They wanted you to know that humans can be slaughtered and nothing will happen. High Commander Vel stood in the Krix section of the hall. He was smiling. He had expected the human to cry and beg. This was more entertaining. Beautiful speech, little human, Vel called out. But we all know how this ends. You will file a complaint. The Concord will hold meetings. Nothing will change. Your species does not have the courage to do anything else. Several alien representatives laughed nervously. They agreed with Vel. Humans always talked. Humans never acted. June turned to face the Krix commander directly. You have one standard cycle to surrender every military officer involved in the New Busan massacre, every soldier who fired a weapon, every pilot who flew a ship, every commander who gave an order. They will stand trial for their crimes against humanity. The laughter in the hall died. Even Vel's smile faded slightly. This was not what humans usually said. And if we refuse? Vel asked, his voice harder now. What will you do, Ambassador? Send another formal complaint? June smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was not a diplomatic smile. It was the smile of someone who knows something terrible that others do not. If you refuse, we will come for you. We will show this galaxy why humanity stopped fighting each other. We will demonstrate what we are capable of when mercy is no longer our choice. And every species in this chamber will watch and remember. The hall was completely silent now. No one moved. No one spoke. The Valori ambassador, who had called humans prey walkers for decades, felt a strange fear growing in his stomach. Vel recovered his confidence. You have no fleet. Your military is a joke. We have seen your ship registrations. 300 vessels. We have 30,000. You have seen what we wanted you to see, June replied. You have one cycle. Choose wisely. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Lieutenant Hana followed him. Behind them, chaos erupted as species began arguing about what had just happened. One cycle passed. The Krix sent their response. It was a video. Krix soldiers stood around a burning human flag. They chanted insults and made rude gestures. High Commander Vel appeared on screen. To the humans, he said, barely controlling his laughter. Here is our answer. Come and take us if you can. We are waiting. The transmission ended. On Earth, Admiral Minho watched the video in his command center. Around him stood the highest-ranking officers in humanity's true military. Not the small defense force the galaxy knew about. The real one. The one that had been building in secret for 3 centuries. They think we are bluffing, General Sujin said. They think we are weak. Commander Tay added. Admiral Minho stood and walked to the main screen. He was an old man who had spent his entire life preparing for a day he hoped would never come. Now it was here. Activate all dormant fleets. Unseal Project Winter Garden. Begin jump preparations. He paused and took a deep breath. And open a channel to every frequency in the galaxy. I want everyone to hear this. His image appeared on screens across known space. On the Concord station. On Krix warships. On 1,000 alien worlds. Everywhere intelligent life existed, they saw Admiral Minho's face. To the Krix Dominion, he said, his voice cold and clear. You were warned. You chose to laugh. You chose to mock. You chose to refuse. That choice has consequences. He leaned forward. To every other species watching this broadcast, pay attention. What you are about to witness is not war. It is a lesson about what humanity really is, a lesson about what happens when our patience ends. His eyes seemed to look directly at everyone watching. Learn this lesson well. We will not repeat it. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the silence was absolute. High Commander Vel stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the edge of Crick's space. His fleet was assembled and ready. 30,000 warships, the pride of the Dominion, floating in perfect formation. Any sign of the humans? He asked his sensor officer. Nothing, Commander. Our scouts report no movement from human territory. Vel smiled. He had called the human bluff. They had made brave speeches, but in the end, they were what they had always been. Weak. Soft. Afraid. Perhaps they realized their mistake, one of his officers said. Perhaps they understood that attacking us would mean their destruction. Of course they did, Vel replied. Humans are not stupid. They know they cannot fight us. Their 300 little ships against our mighty fleet, it would be slaughter. The words had barely left his mouth when the sensor officer screamed. Commander! Contacts! Massive contacts appearing at the edge of the system. Vel turned to the main display. What he saw made his blood freeze. Ships were appearing out of nowhere. Human ships. But not 300 of them. Not three. They kept coming and coming, pouring out of jump space, like water bursting through a dam. How many? Vel whispered. The sensor officer's voice shook. 40,000. And still counting, Commander. 40,000 human warships. For 3 centuries, humanity had been building. While they smiled and built hospitals, they had constructed a secret fleet. While they forgave insults and filed complaints, they had developed weapons the galaxy had never seen. While every species laughed at them, they had prepared for the day when laughter would stop. That day had come. Captain Day commanded the first strike wing. Her ship, the Remembrance, led 500 vessels toward the Crick's defensive line. She had trained for this moment her entire career. Every simulation, every drill, every sleepless night studying battle tactics. It all came down to this. All ships, weapons hot. She ordered. Remember New Busan. Remember the 12 million. Today we collect the debt. The human fleet opened fire. The Cricks had never seen weapons like these. Human plasma cannons cut through their shields like they were made of paper. Human missiles moved faster than Crick's sensors could track. Human ships danced through space with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. Vel watched his defensive line collapse in minutes. Ships that had taken years to build were reduced to burning metal in seconds. Officers screamed reports of catastrophic losses. Communications channels filled with the sounds of Crick soldiers dying. How is this happening? Vel shouted. They are supposed to be weak. They are supposed to be primitives. No one could answer him. The human fleet did not stop at the border. They pushed deeper into Crick's space, destroying everything military in their path. Orbital defense stations, weapons factories, shipyards, supply depots. Anything that could be used for war was turned to ash. But humanity's true terror was not their ships. It was their soldiers. Sergeant Han led a Marine squad during the ground invasion of Crick's Prime. They landed in the capital city, tasked with capturing the government district. 1,000 Crick soldiers stood in their way. The Cricks were larger than humans. They were stronger. They had 4 arms and thick skin that could stop small weapons fire. In any normal fight, they should have destroyed the human squad easily. But this was not a normal fight. Humans had spent thousands of years killing each other. They had fought in jungles and deserts, in cities and mountains, in every environment imaginable. They had developed techniques for killing that no other species had ever needed to create. They had perfected the art of war against the most dangerous enemy they ever faced, themselves. Now all of that knowledge was turned outward. Sergeant Han and his squad moved through the Krix defenders like ghosts. They worked together with perfect coordination, each soldier knowing exactly where the others were without speaking. They adapted to every Krix tactic instantly, finding weaknesses and exploiting them before the enemy could react. A Krix officer watched his troops fall one by one. He had fought many species in his career. None had been like this. "What are you?" he screamed at Han as the human approached his position. "We are humans," Han replied calmly. "And we are done being patient." In orbit, Vice Admiral Yoon coordinated the systematic destruction of Krik's military power. She did not order the destruction of civilian targets. She did not authorize attacks on hospitals or schools. Humanity was not like the Kriks, but every warship, every military base, every weapons factory, every uniform, every weapon, every piece of military equipment, on every Krik's world, all of it was destroyed. "Admiral, the Krik's Third Fleet is requesting permission to surrender," a communications officer reported. "Negative," Yoon replied. "They do not get to surrender their fleet. They surrender themselves, every officer, every soldier. They report to designated locations for processing. Their ships stay where they are until we collect them." One by one, Krik's fleets across their territory received the same message: surrender completely or be destroyed completely. There was no negotiation. There was no middle ground. The war lasted 11 days. In 11 days, humanity dismantled a military force that had taken the Krik's centuries to build. They did not commit genocide. They did not harm civilians. But they made absolutely certain that the Krik's would never threaten anyone again. On the 12th day, High Commander Vel was dragged before Admiral Minho in chains. His uniform was torn. His pride was shattered. He had lost everything. "You said we had no courage," Minho said quietly. "You said we would file complaints and do nothing else. You laughed when we warned you. Are you laughing now?" Vel could not meet his eyes. "How?" he whispered. "How did you hide all of this? How did no one know?" Minho leaned close to him. "Because you saw what you wanted to see. You saw kindness, and assumed it was weakness. You saw patience, and assumed it was fear. You never once considered that we were kind because we chose to be, that we were patient because we knew what would happen if we were not." He stood and turned away. "Take him to the holding cells. He will stand trial with the others. Every officer involved in New Busan will face justice." As Vel was dragged away, he looked back at the human admiral. He finally understood. Humanity had never been weak. They had been waiting. Waiting for the galaxy to make them stop being kind. The galaxy had made its choice. Now it would live with the consequences. The Galactic Concord Chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from all 12 species sat in their sections, but no one spoke. No one moved. They were afraid to breathe too loudly. Ambassador Jun walked to the central podium. Behind him stood Admiral Minho, General So, Captain Day, and Sergeant Han. They wore their military uniforms openly now. No more hiding. No more pretending. Jun looked at the assembled species. These were the same faces that had laughed at humanity for 3 centuries. The same voices that had called them weak. The same hands that had waved away their complaints. None of them were laughing now. "Humanity did not want this," Jun began. His voice was soft, but in the silence, everyone heard every word. "We never wanted to show you what we truly are. We hoped that kindness would be enough. We hoped that patience would teach you to treat us as equals. We hoped that if we gave enough, forgave enough, helped enough, you would see us as friends." He paused and looked down at the podium. "We were wrong. And so were you." The Valori ambassador shifted nervously in his seat. He remembered every insult he had ever spoken about humans, every cruel joke, every dismissive wave of his hand. He wondered if humanity remembered too. "Let me tell you something about humans," Jun continued. "We are a species that nearly destroyed ourselves. Not once. Not twice. Many times. We created weapons that could end all life on our planet. We used them on each other. We learned to kill so efficiently that we had to invent kindness just to survive." He looked up and his eyes swept across the chamber. "Patience," tolerance, forgiveness. These are not signs of weakness. They are choices. They are choices we made because we know exactly what we are capable of when we choose differently. You have seen what that looks like. You will never see it again, unless you force us to show you. The Torak representative stood slowly, carefully. Ambassador June, the Torak Coalition wishes to formally apologize for any disrespect we have shown humanity. We would like to renegotiate our treaties on terms of complete equality. Before June could respond, the Valori ambassador also stood. The Valori Empire joins this request. We have been wrong about humans. We see that now. One by one, every species in the chamber rose. Every single one asked for new treaties, new terms, new relationships built on respect instead of contempt. June nodded slowly at each one. Humanity accepts your offers. We will work with you as equals. We will continue to build hospitals on your plague worlds. We will continue to send engineers to help repair your stations. We will continue to adopt your orphaned children. He paused, and when he spoke again, there was steel in his voice. But never forget what you have seen. Never forget what we are capable of. Never forget that our kindness is a choice we make every single day. If you respect that choice, we will be the best friends you have ever had. If you do not, he did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. After the session, Lieutenant Hana walked with Ambassador June through the corridors of the station. Aliens who passed them nodded respectfully. Some even bowed. The back corner seats would never be offered to humanity again. Do you think they will remember? Hana asked quietly. Truly remember? June stopped at a window and looked out at the stars. New Busan was out there somewhere, still burning. His sister, his nieces and nephews, his parents. Their graves were not even cold yet. They will remember, he said. They will tell their children. Their children will tell their children. For as long as this galaxy exists, every species will know what happened when humanity stopped being patient. He turned back toward his office. There was work to do, treaties to negotiate, a new order to build. The gentle diplomat mask was back on his face, but Hana noticed something different about him now. He moved like Admiral Minho, like Captain Day, like Sergeant Han. He moved like a warrior who had chosen peace, not a peaceful man who had never known war. And if they forget? Hana asked. June's smile was warm, but his eyes were not. Then we will remind them. 200 years passed. Humanity became the most respected species in the galaxy, not the most feared, although that fear never fully disappeared. Respected. Other species sought their advice, their friendship, their protection. Human doctors still traveled to sick worlds. Human engineers still helped build and repair. Human families still adopted alien children that no one else wanted. The kindness had returned, stronger than before. But in every culture, in every language, on every world where intelligent life existed, parents told their children the same story. It was the story of a species that smiled while it was insulted, a species that forgave while it was robbed, a species that helped while it was mocked, a species so patient that the entire galaxy thought it was weak. And then the story told what happened when that species stopped smiling, when it stopped forgiving, when it stopped being patient. Be kind to the humans, parents would tell their children. Always be kind to the humans. They are the best friends you could ever have. They will help you when no one else will. They will protect you when no one else can. Then the parents would lean close and lower their voices. But never, ever make them angry. Never hurt them. Never push them too far. Because they are kind by choice. And you never want to see what happens when they choose differently. The children would nod, their eyes wide. What happened to the Cricks? They would ask. And the parents would shake their heads sadly. The Cricks forgot that kindness was a choice. They pushed the humans too far, and now there is no Cricks military. There is no Cricks power. They spend their days paying for what they did, and they will keep paying for 500 years. The children would shiver. The humans did that? The humans did that. In 11 days, no child who heard that story ever forgot it. They grew up and had children of their own, and they told the same story. Generation after generation, century after century, no species forgot the day humanity's tolerance snapped. No species ever would.